I'm Lucy and I work at LSCFT within Community Roots as a peer coordinator. For over 10 years, I've struggled with my mental health, more recently in the postnatal period after having both my children who are now 5 and 2. In 2010, I went to my GP after struggling with episodes of depression and anxiety. This was the start of my mental health journey. After struggling with the episodes of depression and receiving some talking therapy, I was referred to secondary mental health services. In 2011, I returned to education, and in 2013, I completed my foundation degree in theatre. During those 2 years, I experienced many depressive episodes, but I somehow managed to pass with the highest mark in the class. Theatre was and still is an escape. You don't have to be yourself or think about your problems. You can be someone else just for a moment. After finishing college at 25, I felt lost. I didn't really know where I wanted to be in life, and my depression spiraled, leaving me to believe that life would be better off without me in it. Due to the lack of mental health beds, at times I was sent miles away from friends and family. Most recently, 250 miles away whilst 11 weeks pregnant. I lost jobs, friends, family. I didn't feel like life was worth living. I lived from minute to minute because if I thought any further in the future, it just became too overwhelming. I didn't feel listened to, my partner's views weren't listened to, and it left us both in a place of mistrust and feeling let down. I always knew I wanted a family, and fast forward a few years, my son was born in 2018. During the pre and postnatal period, I received support from the specialist perinatal team, a service I eventually went to work for later on down the line. Having a history of depression, I knew that I was at higher risk of having similar difficulties in the postnatal period, and when my son was 11 weeks old, I was admitted to a mother and baby unit. I was experiencing a severe episode of postnatal depression that made me think that my baby was better off without me. I felt inadequate, sad, angry, like nothing was ever good enough, and so guilty for the life I thought he was going to have. With help and support, the right medication and talking to others, I was discharged 11 weeks later. In 2020, I returned to work for the first time in 6 years, and I wanted to use what I'd been through to help others, to inspire hope and to say, if I can do it, so can you. I went to work with a perinatal team that had saved my life just 18 months earlier. I worked as a peer support worker, sharing my own experiences with mums and families during some of the best and worst times of their lives. We spent time together, laughing, crying, getting angry at how the world can be so cruel. But each and every time we shared stories of hope, survival, and being kind to ourselves, remembering good enough is good enough. At 5 weeks postpartum, I was admitted to a mother and baby unit for the second time in 3 years under a section of the Mental Health Act because I didn't believe that life would ever get better. Although it was a local mother and baby unit, it was still a 40-mile round trip, and my partner spent the next 12 weeks travelling up and down the motorway with my 3-year-old, trying to keep our family together. I don't know how I pulled myself out of that dark place, and during those really awful times, the only way I could see out was death. My babies are now 5 and 2, and parenting is single-handedly the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but to be around to see their smiles, to witness them grow into these amazing little humans is the reason I didn't let depression win. I wanted to tell my story because if you'd have told me in 2022 that I would be around to see my babies grow up and working in mental health, I'd have never believed you. Talking about your mental health is still so stigmatised, particularly within NHS staff groups. And I hope that one day we can get to a place where we are able to be open and honest without the fear of being judged or deemed not good enough. How many of us answer the question, how are you honestly? How many of us bring our whole self to work? I didn't believe I would ever get better because in the darkest of days, I didn't get up, didn't shower, didn't eat, didn't see or speak to anyone. Life is hard, but when you throw a mental health diagnosis into the mix, it feels like you are wading through mud. Mental health doesn't define us. We are more than a diagnosis, more than a hospital room number, more than a label on a box of medication. We are mothers, fathers, sons and daughters. We are kind, caring and compassionate human beings. We've come a long way in ensuring people with lived experience are represented within our services, but we still have such a long way to go. The reason I do the job I do is to ensure people with lived experience are involved in everything we do, because who better to develop a service than the ones who are using it? People with lived experience inspire hope, recovery, and can be alongside people during some of the worst times of their lives. I hope that one day those people are a standard part of our daily support system within all mental health services and not just for it to feel like a tick box. I would never want anyone to ever feel how I did, to experience such awful care and loneliness of being miles away from home at the worst time of your life. I'm determined to use those bad experiences for some good to try and help just one person. If you right now are going through something hard or you know someone who is, please know there are people around who care, who want to help and want to listen.